In the quiet town of Fall River, Massachusetts, the air is thick with whispers of an unspeakable horror that unfolded on a sweltering August day in 1892. The Borden house, an unassuming structure on 2nd Street, hides a legacy stained with blood and shadowed by mystery. It was in this house that the gruesome murders of Andrew and Abby Borden took place, an event so chilling that it continues to haunt the imaginations of all who hear the tale. On the morning of August 4, 1892, Lizzy Borden, the daughter of the wealthy Andrew Borden, discovered her father's lifeless body slumped on a couch in the sitting room. His face was a grotesque mask of shattered bone and blood, his skull having been struck by an axe with such ferocity that one of his eyes had been split in two. But this was only the beginning of the horror. Upstairs, the body of Abby Borden, Lizzy's stepmother, lay in a pool of congealed blood. She had been struck in the back of the head, the force of the blows driving her face into the floorboards. The crime scene was nightmarish. Blood spattered the walls, and the heavy scent of death hung in the air. The brutality of the murders was incomprehensible, and the small, close-knit community was thrown into turmoil. Who could have committed such a heinous act? The suspicion soon fell upon Lizzy, the seemingly meek daughter of the Borden family. Lizzy Borden's trial became a spectacle, drawing in crowds who were both fascinated and horrified by the possibility that a genteel woman from a respected family could have wielded the murder weapon. The prosecution painted a damning picture. Lizzy, motivated by greed and resentment, had murdered her father and stepmother to secure her inheritance. Yet, there were whispers of something darker, a rage that simmered beneath the surface, fed by years of repression in a strict, loveless household. But Lizzy's defense argued that she was incapable of such violence. After all, who would believe that a woman could commit such a savage act? The jury, perhaps swayed by the societal norms of the time, acquitted her. But even in her freedom, Lizzy was not free from the shadows of suspicion that would follow her until her death. The Lizzy Borden house itself is a character in this macabre tale. Some say the walls still echo with the screams of that fateful morning, that the spirits of Andrew and Abby remain trapped within the rooms where they met their violent ends. Visitors report strange occurrences, cold spots, the sound of footsteps on empty floors, and a feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. It's as if the house remembers and refuses to let go of the dark secrets it harbors. As for the murders, the truth remains elusive. Some speculate that Lizzy wasn't the only one with a motive. Could it have been her sister, Emma, who was away at the time but might have returned secretly? Or perhaps the maid, Bridget Sullivan, who had the means and opportunity, driven by a deep-seated resentment? There are even those who believe that an unknown intruder could have committed the murders, slipping away unnoticed in the chaos that followed, or even that Lizzy and Bridget killed the couple because the two of them were having an affair that Lizzy's parents never would have accepted. After her acquittal, Lizzy Borden returned to Fall River, but her life was far from peaceful. The cloud of suspicion never lifted, and the townspeople ostracized her, whispering behind her back and shunning her in public. Lizzy, who later changed her name to Lisbeth in an attempt to distance herself from the notoriety, moved with her sister Emma to a large home on the hill, a more affluent part of town, which she named Maplecroft. Despite her wealth, Lizzy lived a life marked by solitude and social isolation. The once vibrant social life she might have enjoyed was instead replaced by loneliness, her only companions being her staff and a few close friends. The strain of the trial and the stigma attached to her name seemed to harden Lizzy, who became increasingly reclusive as the years passed. In 1905, Emma, who had been her closest confidant, suddenly left Maplecroft after a dispute, leaving Lizzy entirely alone. The details of their falling out remain a mystery, adding another layer of intrigue to Lizzy's already enigmatic life. Some speculate that the sisters' relationship had been strained by the lingering tension of the murder accusations, while others believe it might have been due to Lizzy's lifestyle, which was rumored to be unconventional and perhaps scandalous for the time. Lizzy Borden died on June 1, 1927, at the age of 66, after a long illness. She was buried in the family plot in Oak Grove Cemetery in Fall River, alongside her father and stepmother, an ironic and unsettling reunion for a family torn apart by violence. Emma died just days later, on June 10, 1927, and was buried in the same plot. As for the infamous Borden house on 2nd Street, it has not faded into obscurity. Today, it operates as a bed and breakfast and museum, where the curious and the brave can spend the night in the very rooms where the murders took place. The house has been meticulously preserved, with period-appropriate furnishings and decor, making it feel as though time has stood still since that fateful day in 1892. Guests can choose to stay in Lizzy's bedroom, or in the room where Abby Borden met her grisly end. The house also offers tours that delve into the dark history of the Borden family, the gruesome details of the murders, and the various theories that have emerged over the years. Many visitors and staff have reported strange occurrences, unexplained cold spots, doors opening and closing on their own, and the faint sound of a woman weeping. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving through the halls or felt an unseen presence watching them as they sleep. Staying in the Borden house is not for the faint of heart. It's a place where the past feels unervingly present, where the walls seem to whisper secrets long kept hidden, and where the legacy of Lizzy Borden lingers, forever entwined with the macabre history of the house she called home. The case of Lizzy Borden is a puzzle with pieces that will never quite fit, leaving gaps where the imagination can run wild. Was Lizzy truly the cold-blooded killer, or was she an innocent woman caught in a web of circumstance? The answers are buried deep in the past, alongside the Borden family, but the story continues to linger, a ghostly presence in the annals of American crime. And so, the Lizzy Borden house stands, not just as a monument to a grisly chapter in history, but as a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seems all too thin, a place where the past refuses to rest, and where the specter of violence still looms large. If you enjoy the content on our channel, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps out our small channel. Thank you all so much, and until next time, stay scary.